Stay tuned for your next chance to win the ultimate Chicago fan package. Hyundai Night Football, the postgame show, starts now, right here on the U. WCIU The U presents Hyundai Night Football, the postgame show.
Come on, y'all.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Hyundai Night Football, the postgame show. I'm Jim Blaney alongside former Bears offensive lineman James Big Cat Williams, former Bears defensive lineman Israel Adonijah. All three of us were wrong. Didn't matter what reasons we gave. I'll start with me. I bashed on the Cleveland Browns in the pregame show.
Yeah.
Maybe the Browns are a little better than I thought, but the Bears lose tonight to the Philadelphia Eagles by a final score of 29-14. Not only that, nine guys that got hurt. So Big Cat, loss is bad. 0-2 is bad, but 9 guys, that could potentially be catastrophic.
Yeah, an 0-2 start is bad. That's something you never want to start off 0-2, but to lose that many guys in one game, you don't know how serious any of the injuries are yet. But it'll be interesting to see, Tuesday, Wednesday, after a few x-rays to see how these guys are holding up, because they got another game next week to go to Dallas for next Sunday night.
And Israel, it's not just guys going down, because in the locker room mentality, it's your brothers. It's the guys you go to work with every day. It's the guys you fight with. It's the guys you sweat with. It's the guys you battle with all the time. Right. So there's a mental aspect to having that many guys get hurt as well, right?
Absolutely. It's just very deflating as the game goes on to see bodies dropping left and right, and it just kind of takes the wind out of the sails. And you could just see that as the game went on, we weren't making plays. Guys were flat. The energy wasn't there. It just, when you lose that momentum, it spreads, and we saw it today.
But the key thing is you lose, and you drop to 8-2. Big Cat, from what you saw tonight, what's the problem that sticks out to you more than any other?
You're not running the ball. You have to find a way to get the run game started, whether it be the guys up front not making blocks, whether it be Langford not hitting holes, whether, I'm not sure what it is right now. We'll go back and look at this a little bit later, but there's got to be something that has to change to get the ball on the ground and get it moving up the field.
Israel, what about you?
For me,
biggest thing that sticks out.
For me, it's consistency. At the end of the day, there's flashes of good things, and then there's lulls with just absolutely terrible play. And at the end of the day, if you want to win games in this league, you've got to be consistent on all 3 phases of the game. And right now, we don't have any consistency at all.
All right, let's get a look at the highlights from tonight's game. The Bears lose by a final score of 29-14 to the Philadelphia Eagles. Game got off to a rather slow start, to tell you the truth. First quarter, Philly leading 3-0. The Bears have 1st and 10 at the 47. Big toss, Jay Cutler to Alshon Jeffrey for 48 yards. 3 plays later, Jeremy Langford takes it into the end zone for a touchdown, 7-3 Bears. Move ahead to the second quarter. After the Eagles had kicked a field goal to close within 1, Carson Wentz right on the money for Jordan Matthews. He can't hang on. Led to a field goal. Philly led 9-7 at the half. Here's what might be a huge play in the season for the Bears. Jay Cutler gets sacked, fumbles. It's believed that's the play where he hurt his hand. Let's move ahead now. Later in the third quarter, minute left, Ryan Matthews, 3-yard touchdown run, caps off an 8-play, 68-yard drive. Philly led it 16-7. Third quarter, the first play after the kickoff. Jay Cutler picked off by Nigel Bradham. He returns it inside the Bears' 5-yard line. Next play after that, Carson Wentz goes to Trey Burton, 2 yards for the touchdown. 22-7 Eagles. They scored 2 touchdowns in 38 seconds. So after that, Jay Cutler comes out. Brian Hoyer goes in. 1st and 10, Bears at the 47-yard line. Langford fumbles away the football. Now, later in the quarter, this is kind of the way the Bears night went. The Bears stopped the Eagles on 4th goal and 2, but they are called for lining up in the neutral zone. The Eagles get another play. Ryan Matthews runs it in. At that point, it was 29-7, and the Eagles go on to win it by a score of 29-14. Eddie Royal with a punt return for a touchdown that got the Bears to 14. But I agree with you guys. Didn't run the football, didn't execute at times, and for everything we asked about Carson Wentz, and how would he play in his second game? The answer is he played just fine.
He did. You have a young quarterback. They didn't hold anything back. Anything that a veteran quarterback would have run, whether it be down at the goal line or in the middle of the field. He made all the good throws, put some passes right on the money. Unfortunately, a couple of their wide receivers dropped them. Well, fortunately for the Bears, but you can't have the turnovers.
Israel, let's compare the quarterbacks for a quick second, because you know what? You look at the numbers for Jay Cutler. Wow, 70%, 157 yards, not great, but not bad. But the number that really jumps out at you and will always kill you no matter what level of football it is, you turn the football over, you are going to lose.
Yeah, I mean, for many years, a stat that you can hold true to is turnover ratio. And if you have one turnover, statistically, 71% of the time you win the game. 2+, 3+, 82% of the time you win games if you win that turnover battle. Today, we lost in the turnover ratio, and we saw the outcome of the game.
3-0, the turnover ratio in the end on the game for the Bears versus the Eagles. We're just getting started. When we come back, we will have the division standings. You are watching Hyundai Night Football, the postgame show on WCIU, the U. Welcome back to Hyundai Night Football, the postgame show on WCIU, the U. Those blue lights at Soldier Field may be appropriate because it's blue for the Bears right now, because they lose 29-14 to the Eagles. They lose a lot of guys to injury during the course of the game in the process, something they'll develop over the next few days. Who is going to be back? But just not a whole lot good to talk about out of this game, guys. Let's go to some of the key stats. We talked a little bit about turnovers, but let's also talk about time of possession, because it's something we talked about in the pregame show. And 36 minutes. That's a lot. I mean, usually if you can get 32 or 33, you're feeling pretty good about yourself that you won the possession battle, Big Cat. 36, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's the turnovers. Whenever you give the ball up like that and give the other team an opportunity to move the ball and the opportunity to run plays, you're going to put yourself at a disadvantage, and that's exactly what they did.
But I also want to bring, and we'll bring it up right away, is talking about the running attack, or the lack thereof in the case of the Bears. Philly didn't run the ball that great either. But what did I talk about? Because I'll tout my football genius sitting next to you two tonight, is 30 rushes wins games. Yeah. And the Eagles, to be honest with you, they didn't rush it a lot early, Israel, but once they got the lead and they wanted to hang on the ball, go to 4-minute offense, then they began to ram the ball and run it down. They end up with 32 rushes, barely 3 yards a carry, but it's good enough to get the win, and the Bears have under 20 rushes for the night.
Rushes. And it's just about a commitment to the running game. And you see with 18, we did not have that. And Philly, like you said, it wasn't quite there early for them, but they stuck with it, and eventually it broke. And that's the mentality that you need when it comes to your run game. You just got to continue to pound it, continue to work the system, and eventually these big runs break. It looked like we had a little something going there, and then we kind of went away from it.
Right. Third quarter in particular, there was a Bears possession where all of a sudden they ran it 7 plays in a row, had some pretty good success with it. Then from midfield, Langford loses 4 yards. They have to go back and pass. Jay throws an incompletion, but that was after we think he hurt his hand, too. Yeah. So that might have been a factor.
That's the big run killer sometimes. You lose yardage, and, you get behind in the count as far as where you want to be on second or third down, and then you feel as though you have to throw the ball. Sometimes it's just better to keep it on the ground, keep on pounding it, keep on softening that defense up.
One of the other things we talked about in the pregame show was guys that were playing in their second games as pros for the Bears. Well, let's take a look at the 3 guys we talked about in the pregame. I'm going to take Kevin White, because Kevin White, I think, actually had a pretty decent game, made a few catches, had a running attempt as well. But I'll give you guys your specialty. Cody White here, Big Cat, what'd you see?
He didn't have a bad game. They had Fletcher Cox in the middle. You didn't see him do a lot between Sitton and Long. They were able to handle the middle. So I think, you give Whitehair, he did pretty good. It's a lot easier playing in your home stadium, and I think he proved that today.
All right, Israel, Leonard Floyd.
Leonard, young guy, still developing. You can't just put it on one guy when it comes to rushing. We did not get enough pressure up front. We had Wentz back there, with some time to deliver some deep balls. Fortunately, they dropped them, but 2 tackles for him on the day. A critical infraction lining up offsides there, and just those little details. Those are errors that he can't make, and he has to continue to develop. But today, an average game for Floyd.
from your experience as a player, I mean, Leonard Floyd is still a guy who's learning. He also is a guy who I think everybody acknowledges, too, needs to get bigger to play in the NFL. That's not going to happen during the season. But so when he goes in and he goes into work in the coming weeks, what in particular things do the coaches work on a young player like that who has a lot of physical talent, but maybe not the physical stature you have to succeed in the NFL the way he wants to?
You know, he kind of reminds me of like a Mark Anderson that you just got to use strategically and let him get in there and rush the passer. You got to get him comfortable. You don't want to overwhelm him because he's so talented, but just you got to manage the situations that you put him in. Yeah, he will get bigger. You come in this league, he will put on that weight as he develops. But, I mean, a young, talented kid, but there's work to be done there.
All right, about the only good thing out of the game tonight for the Bears, at least it's not a division game, that it really counts double in the standings for all intents and purposes. Here's a look at the NFC North standings. Of course, the Vikings are on top after that big win opening up their new stadium last night against the Green Bay Packers. That also gives them a 1-0 mark in the division. Packers and Lions at 1-1, the Bears at 0-2. And if you believe the Bears can get an advantage over rookie quarterbacks, well, maybe not so much after tonight. So now maybe it's not so much of a good thing that they have to face another rookie quarterback next week when they take on the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott. Coming up next, we'll talk to WCIU's Kenny McReynolds on turning points in tonight's game. Hyundai Night Football, the postgame show, will be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to the postgame show. As I started to assemble my team for tonight, I took care of my interior line first. Feel very good about how I did there. But I needed some speed on the outside. And for that, I went and got my good friend Kenny McReynolds. And Kenny was monitoring the turning points of tonight's game. Well, and there are a lot of interesting moments in this one, Kenny.
And I hate to kick you guys while you're down, but I was the only one that predicted Philadelphia would win today.
Okay.
So give me credit. You guys had the Bears, I had Philly. All right. Hey, you know, turning points. My goodness. Let's go to what I think the Bears' turning point. Jim, there were so many we could pick from, but let's go to late in the third quarter. The Bears actually still in the ball game, 16-7. But Jay Cutler does what Jay does. He throws an interception. Nigel Bradham with the interception. The Bears were only down 16-7. They score on the next play to put it almost out of reach, 22-7. That was a big key for the Chicago Bears. Now, Philadelphia's turning point. Now, you're going to see this play. It's just going to be a completion. Let's go to the second quarter late. Now, you're going to see this completion right here, Carson Wentz to Trey Burton. It's a first down. Now, you may say, Kenny, why just a first down? The Bears are leading 7-3. Well, you know what? The couple of plays before that, Philly, they were doing absolutely nothing in the second quarter. They were going backwards. The play before that, Jason Kelce, face mask, go back. The play before that, Kelce, a hold that wiped out a 20-yard gain. Philly were actually going backwards. That completion gave Philadelphia, I thought, a little momentum. They started going forwards instead of backwards. They kick a field goal in that sequence to make it 7-6. Then all of a sudden it's 9-7. Then it's 16-7. Then it's 22-7. Then it's 29-7. So to me, that completion had Philadelphia going forwards when they were going backwards the entire second quarter.
And it was a strange game for momentum, too, because remember the Bears, their opening series, they went minus 13 yards.
Yeah.
On their opening series of the game, and then Philadelphia goes in, they get the football, and they moved it down the field pretty well. The Bears got it back, and it was like, okay, they were able to move the football pretty well.
And then
all of a sudden, it just went poof at the start of the third quarter for the Bears.
Yeah, guys, I don't understand that. You guys played this game. How do you explain that? Or can you?
That is hard to explain.
Or is that Philadelphia, whatever adjustments that Doug Peterson's staff made, is that the difference between the Bears being able to move it at least a little bit in the first half, and then in the third quarter, all of a sudden, nothing?
Well, I think sometimes you just get on track. You know, I think sometimes, there are always adjustments being made. Everyone usually wants to focus on the halftime adjustments. But during the course of a game, after every series, after every play, every coach is trying to find that one little adjustment that's going to get them over the edge.
And that's when we see the guys with the tablets.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so give me an example of an adjustment from any point in time during your career where coaches came to you and said, okay, we talked about this all week, now we're going to do this. Give me a specific example of a type of an adjustment that gets made during the course of a game based on what you see on the field that's happening in front of you.
Well, there are the game is constantly full of adjustments, but in particular, we come into a game, we're going to do a check, a Reno, a certain blitz, and if the opposition picks it up or they know what we're doing, there was a game in particular where Peyton Manning knew exactly what we were doing. We came to the sideline. Listen, that play is gone. That's out of the playbook. We're no longer doing that because they were prepared or they had an adjustment for that. So quickly, you just change and right on the sideline, you draw something up and you move on.
Wait a second. You're telling me that Peyton Manning knew what you guys were going to do before you even did it?
Every once in a while, yeah. He's a smart guy.
He was the master at it. So when we come back, we're going to go out to, well, we're going to go right now, as a matter of fact. We're going to go to Soldier Field, where WCIU's Allison Hayes is standing by. Hey, Allison, didn't look like a lot of happy people leaving Soldier Field tonight.
Very disappointing. You can believe that. Fans were very disappointed. A lot of conversations being had about the disgust over Cutler, over injuries, over the lack of run game, and, of course, on turnovers. After the Langford fumble, fans started leaving in mass exodus from the field, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And I talked with some fans on their way out, and they said, despite everything else that was going on, of course, who took most of the blame? Jay Cutler. No matter what he did, everyone was furious about the performance, about the injury, and where do they go from here? And so now we bring in Hub to talk about that. The Bears now, fans are obviously upset and disappointed. Where does this team pick it up and go from here?
Well, I'm not sure where you can go from here because we don't know the status of Jay Cutler. We don't know the status of Lamar Houston. We don't know the status of Eddie Goldman. You lost too many good football players tonight. And you know what's interesting, Allison, that game coming out at halftime, the Bears were in control physically. They may not have been in control on the scoreboard, but there was great physicality. They were playing really well on defense. You had the Jay Cutler fumble on which he hurt that hand, came back out, threw the interception. It was all over. Now, you can blame Jay Cutler all you want. Injuries are injuries. At the end of the day, though, those turnovers were clearly the turning point in the game. Now you got to go to Dallas next Sunday. We don't know if this defense is going to have enough players to suit up who can go out and get the job done. Leonard Floyd, very disappointing tonight. I think Jonathan Bullard played a little bit better, but they're just undermanned right now.
Yeah, of course, the boos started early when Barth missed the field goal. The boos have continued throughout. Their people making their way out of the stadium now. So it's very disappointing, and we'll see where this team can go from there, guys.
Hub, thank you very much. Just a long night for Bears fans, and quite honestly, I had forgotten about the Connor Barth field goal that missed. That was after replacing Robbie Gould. That didn't go over well with the faithful either. When we come back, we'll take a look at a rough road that might be ahead for the Bears. That's coming up as we continue on the postgame show.
Hey there, I'm Jean Sparrow.
And I'm Melissa Foreman from You and Me, right here on the U, live every weekday morning from 6 to 8 a.m.
It's time for tonight's final code word for the Ultimate Chicago Fan Package.
The code word is Chicago. Now log on to WCIU.com and enter online.
You have a chance to win an overnight stay at the beautiful Sheraton Grand Chicago, dinner and limo service, all courtesy of New Lenox Travel.
And join us tomorrow morning beginning at 6 for a Bears wrap-up on You and Me.
29-14, the Bears lose to the Eagles tonight. Jim Blaney, along with Big Cat Williams and Israel Adonijah. Let's take a look forward now, guys. They get to go to Jerry World next week to take on the Dallas Cowboys. They'll face Dak Prescott, another rookie quarterback, and right up your alley, Big Cat, maybe the best offensive line in football.
Yeah, you're dealing with that Dallas offensive line, and you've got a rookie running back and Zach, and you've got the rookie quarterback, and they're going to come at you. They're going to run the ball downhill. They've proved that they can throw the ball over the last couple of games, so it's going to be a tough task in Dallas.
And Israel, you do have a quick turnaround. It's a Sunday night game. It's national TV. Everybody's going to be watching, but you do. We talked to all at the beginning of this night on the pregame show, hey, you got the extra day on Monday night. Well, now the bad side of that is you have a day less, and especially if you've got guys nicked up, that can get back, it's one day less to recover.
Yeah, it's a short week, and you have guys beat up physically, but you also have guys beat up mentally. So I think a big aspect for the coaching staff is look at the film, correct the issues, but you want to get everybody back to a positive place. We can win this game. Let's just focus and win one game. Let's just win this next one, and then build from there.
Tuesday is the normal off day in the NFL for players. So what happens after a Monday night game?
Sometimes you get Tuesday. Usually if you win, you get Tuesday off. Sometimes they give you Tuesday off just because it was so bad. But, you'd have to imagine they might come in, they might watch film and do a little bit of running just to stretch out and just only be in there for a couple hours and then back on Wednesday, back at it, ready for Sunday.
But what would you do, Israel? Would you give guys, because for one thing, you got to evaluate the sick bay. I mean, you've got to figure out where guys are at. So do you have enough guys to even have practice?
Everybody's got to come in Tuesday. Let's watch the film. Let's get it out. Everybody get treatment and therapy. We got to get healthy. If you're a little bit banged up, if you're good, everybody in. We got work to do. We're 0-2. This gets ugly fast if you don't start getting solutions. So everybody's in. Let's focus on solutions.
Okay, because these guys are former players, and players never do anything other than take one game at a time, right, guys?
That's it.
Okay, I'm going to exclude these guys from this part of the conversation. Let's pop the schedule back up there a second, because we know it's going to be Dallas next week, and of course the Bears have yet to play any of their division games to this point of the season. So they've got all of those coming up. And those are the games that are going to be really, really huge. Now, the first one of those is coming up in 2 weeks when you take on the Lions. Then you've got the Colts. They looked pretty impressive yesterday, even though they lost against Denver. Jacksonville appears to maybe not be as good as everybody thought. Blake Bortles loves turning the football over. Then you go up to Lambeau to play the Packers. Then you're right back here on WCIU on Halloween against the Vikings. And only then do you get to the bye week. So I guess if I were a player looking at the schedule, Big Cat, even though I never look more than one game ahead of time, okay? But I'm looking at that schedule thinking, oh my gosh, we got a tough stretch here because we've got a lot of division. We play everybody in the Division I before we even get to our bye week.
Yeah, you do. You have an interesting stretch coming up. You have games in there that you can win, but depending on how beat up you come out of this game with, like I said, you're going to Dallas next week. That's not going to be a walk in the park. So 2, 3, 4 weeks, you could look at an 0-14.
Well, probably the most important information that John Fox is going to get over the next few days is what's the report from the trainers. But for right now, he's meeting with the media at Soldier Field. So let's go back and hear a little bit of what he had to say.
Obviously very disappointing. I think, a lot was made of our home record from a year ago. I think, we talked about it enough, but obviously it didn't look like it translated. I think, we get a chance to look at it. Obviously it felt bad, without looking at the tape. I think anytime you're -3 in a turnover ratio, it can look like that. But it definitely wasn't a clean game. I think we're capable of better, and we've got to do better.
John, what was your vantage point on Dave's?
All I know is this. If I was a coach, I would not be able to stand up there and be that calm after this game tonight. Israel, that's got to be the hard part about being a coach.
Absolutely. It's tough, but what else can you do? You got to, the game's over. You got to focus on solutions, and it's ugly. He said it. They know it. Now let's adjust. We got to field a group of guys who can play and put us in a position to win next week, and that's got to be the focus moving forward.
Guys, thanks for your time tonight. Really enjoyed sitting and chatting with a little football with you. I wish it would have been a little better circumstance, but we're going to try this again, actually. We're going to do it on Halloween night, October 31st. The Bears will be in Minneapolis at the brand new U.S. Bank Stadium to take on the Minnesota Vikings, and it'll be a 6:30 start right here on WCIU, the U. And it's been another exciting night of football here for everyone. And our hardworking crew at WCIU did a great job. So for Big Cat Williams, Israel Adonijah, Kenny McReynolds, thank you so much for watching Hyundai Night Football, the postgame show. Now, in the genre of TV comedy, you have had a history of great athlete appearances on sitcoms. Joe Namath on The Brady Bunch. You had Wade Boggs and Kevin McHale on Cheers, and you had Phil Mickelson on The Jersey. Coming up next, a special edition of Seinfeld. Jerry becomes friends with Keith Hernandez. Stick around to see that. Good night, everybody.